So guys, we're going to talk about Battlefield 5 because, oh, if there was ever a dumpster fire when you need one. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to talk about it. We're not so much going to talk about the Angry Joe / Jeremy from Unsleeved Media debacle. We're going to talk about more the EA, what happened, and the literal dumpster fire that is called Battlefield 5. So let's jump through it and explain what's going on. So, in case you guys are not familiar, oh, by the way, I'm joined by my normal co-host from my other YouTube channel, Satellite of Disconsent. Hey, Satellite, how are you?
G'day, everyone.
I'm
good, mate.
Yeah, cool. We're both gamers, so he's played a little bit of Battlefield when he was younger. I played a little bit when I was a couple of years ago. But we're both not real big on the Battlefield sort of saga. Don't worry, I'm not a Call of Duty fan either. But yeah, I'm more of a Destiny fan or a Doom fan. But yeah, so let's go through and talk about what's happening with this. So some of you may have heard that Battlefield 5 has a female character as the sort of central sort of line or secondary sort of character. This has caused a bit of an outrage, including hashtags like Not My Battlefield, stuff like that that's been trending. And people are basically causing a bit of a backlash because of Battlefield 2 being set during World War II, and somehow they've managed to put a female character who has a cybernetic arm into this somewhat factual-based war. We'll get to that in a sec. And it's caused a lot of people to cause a bit of a backlash. And a bit of a backlash is probably an understatement. To the point where EA has come out on EA on Women in Battlefield 5, accept it or don't buy the game. So, yeah, and probably the worst decision that they've ever made in their life. Electronic Arts revealed Battlefield 5 to the world. The internet went crazy. Many people's craze was fueled by pure excitement to see the next installment in the iconic shooters series. However, some people's craze was fueled by a displeasure over the game's take on World War II, specifically authenticity, or they believe a lack of. The world's most iconic conflict, cheerfully, the backlash was centered on the incursion of women in the game. So look, at the end of the day, obviously going through and telling people not to buy your game if they don't like it probably wasn't the best idea, because then you've got the EA chief designer official Patrick Summers leaving the company, which is somewhat related. We'll get to that in a sec. Battlefield 5 pre-orders reportedly weak. And then obviously one of the latest things was analyst predicts EA's Battlefield 5 will be a serious disappointment, says pre-orders lag Call of Duty by more than 85%. So what you need to know about this, obviously, look, at the end of the day, Battlefield is being released between Call of Duty and Red Dead Redemption 2. So literally Battlefield is doing yet another Titanfall, because, Titanfall 2 worked out so great for them last time they did this. They are literally sandwiching their game between two big games. And at the end of the day, that in itself is a serious problem. Also, I can completely agree with people when they turn around and say things like, for example, the fact that there were no women on the front lines in World War II, let alone having cybernetic arms. Why are you putting this in a game that is supposedly based on a real event? They try and make these games as close as they can. You've gone through and you put in tanks, the aircraft, the guns, and everything like that. And then all of a sudden you sort of went a little bit creative with the female role with a cybernetic arm. And that's what we're basically going to talk about at the moment today. Is we're going to talk about whether or not you think Battlefield 5 is actually having poor results when it comes to pre-orders because of this, because of the fact that it's sandwiched between 2 or 3 games, or is there yet another reason? To kick it off, Satellite Man, what are your thoughts? Do you think that this is political correctness?
Yeah. Sorry. Well, there's political correctness in the way that they've done it. So, if they wanted to have a strong female character with an arm and you want to get crazy with it a little bit, you wouldn't have it as the central game, the mainline game. You would you would create a slightly sci-fi spin-off from Battlefields. You take the atmosphere, you spin it off into a sci-fi side thing. That there's for example, they could just, and this is me literally fixing fucking EA games here. You would have a crazy scientist who takes a woman who has been, like, some kind of backstory to her, and you'd have her like on a separate storyline that works parallel to the main story separately. Right?
But
you wouldn't have her as the mainline character on the front line of a platoon.
But okay, so the problem is that, or what I'd like to talk about is the fact is that should we have women running around with cybernetic arms and stuff in World War II game? Like, the end of the day,
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Wolfenstein is old World War One, World War Two.
Yeah,
but it has some crazy shit going on because
Yeah.
it was a parallel sci-fi storyline with a bit of a steampunk thing going on.
Oh, okay, yeah,
And
I
that
get you now.
worked.
Yep.
See, that worked, and it would work in EA's favor if they did it like that too, but they didn't. They pushed they're trying to push the SJW narrative into the mainline game, the mainline story, and it doesn't work. You have to have suspension of disbelief. To have a crazy story like Wolfenstein does suspend disbelief, but it doesn't do it the way that EA is doing it with Battlefield.
But at the end of the day, people know Wolfenstein is a crazy timeline, but people know Wolfenstein is not based on real events. It's not based on... Yeah. Where Battlefield, they have a history of going through and making a game that is fairly accurate. So I don't even know if you could actually do that with Battlefield 5. I think, to be honest, if you want to go put in crazy females with, cybernetic arms, maybe stick it in the multiplayer as like a bonus or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. And you wouldn't call it Battlefield. You could call it something else, or you could call it Battlefield something. Like, it's not Battlefield 5, it's something else. Like, they could make a side game. But to do it with their main game that is supposed to be and has always been historically accurate as best they can do it. Because I come from, I haven't played Battlefield 2 or any of the Battlefields. I played 1942, the original, from when I was like a teenager, and I went to a lot of LAN parties, and we played Desert Combat Extended on top of that. And like, it was, even the mods were all about historical accuracy. It just... It would advance the game from World War One to World War Two through mods, and that was done in that. So the community has and always has been about the fact that this game is about historical accuracy. It's about having fun with that immersion into the accurate side of it. If you want crazy, you play Wolfenstein. Like, we play certain games because we want certain things. But Mass Effect is all about, for example, the craziness of it. And no one cared that there was a female character you could play as female. It didn't change the story. It changed certain side quests, but no one cared. And to be honest, there was a massive thing about having the hottest femme shep you can have, which they took that away from us in, Mass Effect Andromeda. And you look at the laughing stock and how that failed. So the more that these companies try to push this SJW narrative down our throats, the more they're going to fail. It's going to literally be get woke or go broke.
Yeah, well, and this is the case with Battlefield 5. It literally is that they should just change the tagline to "Got woke, went broke," because this has a huge effect on this game. Look, at the end of the day, you can't go through putting in tanks, airplanes, guns, and that, and putting all that stuff as accurate, and then go through and put in some woman with a cybernetic arm. Look at the end of the day.
It doesn't work.
No, it's like, okay, everything else is real, but all of a sudden there's this chick with a cybernetic arm. Like, this shit just didn't happen. Like, why is this in our game? It just it breaks the reality or the immersion, as you would say. But what do you reckon?
So immersion is important. So, like, imagine Skyrim, right? There are no mods for Skyrim that put a mech warrior that you can get inside a mech suit and walk around killing dragons. There's no mods for that.
No.
Maybe ask yourself why that is.
Well, why do you think? Okay, so this EA chief design officer Patrick Solons leaves company. Do you reckon he's realised that this is going to end badly for Battlefield 5, and he's sort of pulling the ripcord and leaving, or because according to Angry Joe, he was offered a pay bump to stay and he turned it down. Do you think he might have got a better offer, or do you think he's pulling the emergency shoot button and getting the F out before it sort of crashes?
Well, what do we know about this guy? Has he ever tweeted anything SJW, or like, do we know anything about his mentality?
I can do a quick search while we talk.
Because I think that's important to answer that question.
All right, let me check it out. But yeah, at the end of the day, also, what do you think about? While I'm looking into this, what do you think about the fact that Battlefield 5 is literally sandwiched between Red Dead Redemption and Call of Duty? Do you reckon that has affected the actual the sales as well, or?
Yes. So here's the thing, but I think that people who want to deny the reality of what we just spoke about are using that as a straw man argument. I would say that yes, it has an effect, but not to the extent that they use it as a straw man argument. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think it has affected the sales to a certain point. But at the end of the day, obviously, telling your people or telling your fans not to buy your game if they don't like it, that's always a bad idea as well.
So if you look back through other Octobers, all like at this time of the year is always a bit like full-on game releases, because it's also coincides with the video card releases. Because at the end of the day, the production cycle in AAA titles, and this mostly is in AAA titles, the game companies work closely with the video card companies as well as Microsoft and that for development reasons. DirectX 12, they talk to Microsoft, they get DLLs, DX installer, because it adds a few DLLs for some extra shaders and programming they need, etc., right? So the video cards are usually released, systems are out, because it's all tied in together. It's an industry. They all work together to get these games out working properly, etc., right? That's why you download driver updates too. You should. So it's the timing, right? Now, if we look historically, though, AAA titles all releasing around this time don't generally fail if they're a good game. So the argument that this is simply because of the timing of it doesn't hold a lot of water. It does a little bit, especially maybe if people are having a bit of a financial crisis, it's going to affect it. But you'd see it affect across the board, not just to one title. Do you understand where I'm going?
Yes. So you think it would affect like Red Dead Redemption and Call of Duty as well as not just EA?
Yeah, unless people are sick and tired of Battlefield, but that's not what I've seen. I've seen Battlefield has been a highly successful game forever, like GTA forever. These are all big games, Call of Duty, etc. They tend to all release around this time because of the shit I just said. But at the end of the day, it is suffering way more than it should, and it should be suffering like every other title would have lower sales possibly, if there were other mitigating factors. But that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing this game tank, and they're just using the excuse of multiple releases as a straw man. But if we look at history and factual data and statistics over the years, that it doesn't hold water to the degree they need it to, for that to be their narrative. They're wrong. The game is failing because the company is failing.
And at the end of the day, one thing that's Angry Joe actually touched on is that he is saying that Battlefield people are waiting for the open early access beta to see what the game is like before they go pre-ordering. Well, the beta has been announced. It was announced today, actually, and it's beginning on September the 4th. So, at the end of the day, if a week after September 4, the orders for Battlefield are still 85% behind, then look, at the end of the day, then we would know that it's more of a case of the fact that people don't like the game. But yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah. So we've seen a big narrative push against pre-ordering. This is true. We have also seen early access suffer because of this. A lot of bad games doing bad things. A la No Man's Sky. I mean, No Man's Sky now is making a resurgence because finally it's good and everyone's talking about it and giving it a fair shake. But the thing is that yeah, we have seen a big push against stop pre-ordering games.
And at the end of the day, too, I was going to say also you got to remember too, Battlefield 4 had a bit of a rocky start. My understanding, well, I don't know what the game was like when it first came out, but I was a part of the open beta access for that, and it was buggy as it was glitchy as fuck. Like to the point where I literally made a video saying how are you going to have this game ready? There's just too many bugs that are in this game, and that was Battlefield 4, so that it also might be a bit of a flow-on effect from having that existing game on there. Like you're sitting there thinking, well, shit, Battlefield 4 was pretty glitchy at the start when it first came out. They're pushing this whole feminist agenda. It's sandwiched between Red Dead Redemption 2 and Call of Duty, and you're like, well, do I really want to spend...
Oh, sure. There's a lot
of factors.
Would be killing Battlefield 5 right now. Sure, I'm gonna hand that argument over to them. That there are some arguments they can make, but I mean, let's just look at what people are saying too. They are saying that they don't like the direction of Battlefield 5 with the crazy chick and the robotic arm. That's going to be a factor. There's a lot of factors in it, and it started with Battlefield 4. Its massive flawed release. We had other games last year cause massive controversy against stopping pre-order. Don't hand you over your money on pre-orders. There's a lot of this stuff going on, and it is great from my perspective that we are seeing gamers wake up and change their methods. If it's just pre-order, no one's talking about it. No one's talking about the fact that we don't want any more pre-ordering. We're going to vote with our wallets. The mainstream game media is not going to talk about that because that was bad press.
Well, the interesting thing is too, you have to look at Doom, for example, Doom Eternal. That's the opposite. That's gone with the whole anti-SJW message in of sorts, with the hologram spouting those propaganda lines from the SJWs and literally mocking them. Well, what I would say is mocking them anyway. And at the end of the day, and you just have to look at that game, and there's so much hype around that game right now. Now, look, obviously, Doom is a amazing game. Doom looks fucking unreal, and obviously that helps a lot. But people don't seem to be caring.
Have a reputation.
Yeah, people don't seem to be caring about the SJW influence into Doom. In fact, if anything, people are like, hell, this game looks sick, and it's having a shot at the SJWs. Hell, I'm thinking about pre-ordering Doom. Like Doom Eternal.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I might try to. I'm going to try to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this game is nuts. It's like, yeah.
Well, part of the don't pre-order was also, towards certain companies that have a bad reputation. Like that was part of it. I mean, ID Software is what makes Doom. I'm pretty sure that I'm right on that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they have a reputation that will allow them to get pre-order sales. It's like if CD Projekt Red, put out a pre-order for Witcher 4, they're going to get pre-orders because people trust them. The trust is a big thing, and it's good to see the gamer community do this. Like these game companies, AAA or not, even indie developers, they get a bad reputation. They don't get sales.
True. EA has a pretty bad reputation. That's definitely for sure.
Right now, they have a huge PR problem.
Yeah. So the release date for Doom Eternal, just looking, its release date is 31st of December 2019. Now that's a placeholder, but that's the Amazon listing is claiming that it's coming out then.
Yeah.
Now, that, like I said, that is definitely a placeholder date. They always put the placeholder dates as the 31st of December and at the end of the year. I would suspect it's going to be coming out probably October next year. But yeah,
Okay.
that would be my guess. But yeah. But look, at the end of the day, I suppose we'll wrap it up soon. But yeah, I can't help but think that the SJW message has ruined this game. It's ruining the immersion of it. People are sitting there thinking that this is not what we want. This is not factually accurate. The women on the front lines, like what they've got in the trailer, because she's like really in the thick of it. Like she's really on the front line. Like holy shit! Like she's really involved in this battle.
At least they made her pleasing on the eyes, that's a big difference from the Mass Effect thing.
True. But yeah, I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Are you going to buy Battlefield 5? Have you not pre-ordered it yet because you're waiting for the open beta? You want to see what it's like? Have you not gone through and pre-ordered it yet because of the whole SJW influence? Or is it the fact that the Red Dead Redemption and Call of Duty are both coming out literally on the other side of this game, and you don't want to spend the extra money on buying the third game? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.